I'm your host, Stassi Schroeder. Welcome to Tell Me Lies, the official podcast. What's the most unhinged thing of season 3?
Steven, because he's so evil.
I do think he is misunderstood.
You see everyone face consequences.
It's intoxicating. The writers just know how to trick you.
There's always a twist in this show. It's nothing you would expect.
Tell Me Lies, the official podcast, January 6th, and stream the new season of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's Superhero Stuff You Should Know, or Superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Katie, we are back with another episode, and we are talking about A Thief in the Night. I don't know how familiar you were with this movie, but when I tell you that anytime I told anyone of a certain age about our podcast, they all said, you have to do A Thief in the Night.
I'm so curious about all of this because this was completely new to me, and boy, did it come out of left field and hard.
Yeah. Well, we've got a guest. We got a guest with us this week, Diallo Jackson of a multitude of different podcasts, but I would say the one you're most frequently on with Geekscape right now is the 80s Kids Unite / $2 late fee scene. We'll start with why did you pick this, and then I want to read a little bit of information about the making of this movie, and then we will dive into discussing it.
Let's go. Let me unpack my trauma.
I was gonna say this was like immediate. I was like, I heard a word on the street you want to do Christian cringe, and you're like, I would love to talk about A Thief in the Night. And I was like, all right, here we are. Let's do it.
Yeah, so I grew up for, my first 17 or so years in like a version of evangelical Christian, not intensely all the time, but especially until I was maybe 13 or so, 14. And then I went on to Catholic high school, which was a completely different experience. I'm not a part of the church any longer. And especially, in the last 6 or 7 years, it's been interesting to watch how, a lot of the things I was taught and ingrained in me are just kind of rejected by the very same people that were teaching me all of these ideals, right? And I'm pretty quiet about it. I'm pretty much live or let live. People can do whatever they want, but I always find it interesting. And so when the idea of this Christian cringe came up, this is a topic I never actually really talk about. A lot of people I don't think know this about me. So that was one of the first things that popped into my head. And every once in a while, that movie comes up in conversation vaguely with some of the people I still associate. And they have trauma about it too, but they still are more invested in the other side of things. But anyways, it was, we'll talk about it. It was such a,
yeah.
There's so much about it that I think has to do with the way a lot of those people that believe in it approach the world today. So
let me go down the information that I found about this real quick. Then we'll do the 10 questions, and then we'll really dive into this. But it says here, A Thief in the Night was one of the 70s most widely distributed films. The film had been translated into 3 different languages and subtitled for all the others. In fact, in 1989, historian of religion Randall Balmer wrote that this film estimated 100 million people had seen the film, according to the producer. More recently, Dean Anderson, writing for Christianity Today, says that it is seen by an estimated 300 million. The Christian Bookstore Journal listed it as the top-selling Christian video from 1990 until 1995, and the film's director has claimed that it impacted around 4 million conversions to Christianity.
Oh my God.
But it was a pioneer in the genre of Christian film, as it brought rock music and elements of the horror genre into the previously dominated family-friendly form of evangelicalism. They said it's only a slight exaggeration to say that A Thief in the Night affected evangelical film industry the same way that Sound and Color affected Hollywood. We could actually do something with production behind it. In 2010, an MIT professor of film and media wrote that today many teen evangelists have not seen A Thief in the Night, but virtually every evangelical over the age of 30 that I've talked to is familiar with it, most of which has seen it. I have found that A Thief in the Night is the only evangelical film that viewers cite directly and repeatedly, provoking a conversion experience for them, but it had a tremendous influence on the emergence of evangelical horror, and that they use things like Unite and the zombie-like characters that have taken the mark to represent things like Night of the Living Dead. But it was traumatic for children, who comprised a significant percentage of the original audience, and it has been criticized for scare tactics to produce religious conversions. The film has been mentioned on online discourse as creating rapture anxiety amongst its viewers. And then the last piece here is, a quarter century later, the authors of the Left Behind book franchise have acknowledged their debt to A Thief in the Night.
I knew it.
Yeah, the title Left Behind actually echoes the refrain of the song I Wish We'd All Been Ready that opens the movie A Thief in the Night. Like, the Left Behind series was a modern remake of this book series. So that's the thing that you and I grew up, Katie.
Yeah.
Where I've never read a single word of those books, but everybody was telling me how great they were or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, this is that long line of, you're going to get left behind if you don't convert, baby. But I convinced my co-host of Horror Movie Night to even watch this movie after I watched it, because he loves this type of stuff. And honestly, the opening of this is as scary as the opening of any horror movie from the 70s I've ever seen. The way it's shot and edited is like straight out of Grindhouse, low budget, early 70s horror. And then it's like, oh no, we're gonna start getting into the review of this shortly, but the way that this movie jostles between like shockingly competently made horror moments into the most low budget bullshit evangelical moments is like, it is startling and shocking as it flips between those two things. Diallo, we have some questions for you. We do a thing to gauge how cringe you were at one point when you were a Christian. Now I want you to understand, Katie and I are perfect 100%. This is a safe space to talk about these things. We're going to ask you 10 questions. They're worth 10 points a question. And we'll see what your percentage is.
Points. Now I'm stressed now. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't be stressed. It's just a matter of revisiting your past, and that's sad enough.
Easy 10 points that you already answered for us, but have you ever identified as a Christian?
Yes.
All right, question number 2. Did you ever attend a youth group?
Yes.
Okay, see? It's easy yes or no's. Question number 3. Did you ever own a What Would Jesus Do shirt or bracelet?
No.
Okay.
Might be before my time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Fair.
That was a very I want to say early to mid 90s. That was the real pop off.
Yeah, that would that would have been before.
Did you ever declare in some way that you were going to save yourself for marriage?
That's actually I don't. Yeah, I mean that's a weird one, because I don't think I ever consciously declared that, but it was something taught to me for sure.
Yeah.
So,
You at least internalized it for a small period of life. I'll give you 5 points on that. I'll say that's half points. Did you ever, and this might be a little bit before your time too, because I feel like this CCM world didn't pop off till the 90s, but did you ever have a strong opinion about a Christian band blowing up in the mainstream?
You know, I never did, but I've watched it happen. The big one was Amy Grant. That was like, that was like a big, like that was controversial. Like, what do you think?
She got kicked out of CCM for that. Like,
oh wow.
Because they're like, baby's not about Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, and no. Have you ever asked somebody, how's your relationship with God?
Have I? I've never asked that question, but it's been asked to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
even after I've reached out to like someone I hadn't talked to in forever, that was one of the first things they asked me, and it's like, hey, I'm just like, hey, it's great to reconnect.
No, so, don't like that. Did you ever have to participate in an awkward youth play in front of your church?
Consistently.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever held up your hand while listening to worship music?
Yes. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, who could resist?
That feels cringe to me. Yeah.
We're going to say that this is a no, probably, but did you ever try to convince a friend to listen to a Christian artist by saying they were as good, if not better, than a popular mainstream artist? I think we kind of answered that with the earlier question.
No for me. Yeah.
And then the final question. This will determine if you go past the 50-point mark or not. Do you wake up some nights in a cold sweat remembering something you said or did when you were at your most religious?
Nah, not really. I don't. It's such a weird thing for me because It was almost like you were being programmed. I was being programmed, but I also was like underneath. I wasn't in, but I was sort of like
you hacked your governor module.
Yeah, but it was like
okay.
I don't know. It's complicated.
I'll mark that as a no. So you have a 45% cringe rate. That might be almost as low as Mark Hampton. That is one of the lower cringe rates we've ever seen. So I think that's great.
I feel good.
Yeah, you should.
Listen, the lower you score, the better you should feel, honestly.
Yeah.
It's hell being 100%er, as I'm sure Katie and I can both contest.
It's consistently, I still wake up in cold sweats because I think I'm 110. I think we just determined.
Yeah, we did find a couple moments where you said something where I'm like, oh, we got to give you more points.
Yep. It's unfortunate, but it is the truth.
All right, well, here we are. Thief in the Night. I mean, listen, I can't complain about a 68-minute runtime. That was
the nicest part about this.
Yeah.
I loved that.
That made things. We watched a decent amount of 90-plus minute Christian movies. Having one that was short and sweet and to the point, that made all the difference. But let's talk about this incredibly cinematic opening of a ticking clock. We're getting some credits. And all of a sudden, the alarm goes off, and our main character, Patty, is hearing on the radio that people are disappearing left and right. There's all these different theories of what it might be, but a lot of people are saying it's the rapture. This whole time, we're hearing a buzzing noise in the distance, and it's like, quick cut, as she's running through the bedroom to the bathroom, throws open the door, and sees just a razor on laying inside the sink. Her husband has been raptured. She gives a perfect blood-curdling scream, and then we get into the lamest performance of the song, I Wish We'd All Been Ready.
I thought it was a banger. I was listening to it, I was like, oh, no, not really, but I just was like, oh, this is...
So a little bit of history about this song, though. The song's title track, I Wish We'd All Been Ready, was composed by singer and musician Larry Norman, who is kind of someone once described Larry Norman as what John Lennon was to rock music and what Bob Dylan was to folk music. That's what he was to Christian music. He kind of was like, can write songs that aren't just hymns. We can write our own original songs. probably his most famous song was "Why Does the Devil Have All the Good Music?" But he was kind of that early version of like, oh, let's take modern music and do something with it. It is being covered in this song by a group called the Fish Market Combo, a band that was made up of local student volunteers. But the song went on to become an anthem for the Jesus movement and was covered by DC Talk on their Jesus Freaks single and featured on the compilation album People Get Ready, the songs that inspired the Left Behind book series.
Wow. That's a crazy fact.
Yeah. So that's the end of any of my factoids, though. Unfortunately, the rest is just about the movie. Actually, that's a lie. One of the directors of this movie in 1958, before making this movie, helped with the production of The Blob. And I feel like early horror movie making career definitely helped with this. You had to watch The Blob just recently, right, Katie?
I did. Yeah, I have to watch it for our friend James Thorpe's podcast, and I have to watch the second one now too. But oh my god, that makes sense because there were so many zoom lenses, like everything was popping off zoom. I did feel like the horror element of all of this was fairly well done. The writing left some things to be desired.
It almost makes you wish that they went for a more subtle route. Like, I feel like if they went with subtlety in the story, it would actually be like, all right, this is definitely propaganda still, but it's like well-made propaganda. But because it lacks subtlety, it's just that you get these little moments of like, oh, they actually knew what they were doing behind the camera and in the editing room, hidden in just garbage. Just like absolute garbage. I was so frustrated following the Wikipedia summary to try to figure out what the fuck was happening, because this movie jumps all over through time. Like, it's very hard to follow at parts. Yeah. But it seemed like the implication was that the reason Patty wasn't raptured was because she went to a liberal church, and that her husband started going to a more conservative church. So there's also that little bit of like political commentary shoved in there.
You pick up a little bit of that. So I watched not only this, but and I actually have a stronger memory of a movie that came out after it, which was like a sequel. I think it had like 3 sequels.
There's 3
the next one was called A Distant Thunder, I think. And that's the one that actually, I remember that, watching that distinctly and being absolutely traumatized by it. But I think they go into that concept a little bit more with the preacher of the church. I think it was in that movie where he talks about like, why didn't you teach us the actual word of God? And, you know, because the preacher doesn't get raptured either, you know? And so they
which
talk
I thought was a
about
fun
that.
twist. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing
in my
about
story
that
writing
preacher.
my story writing head, I'm like, oh, they needed someone to like give the information to communicate to the audience, but also, story-wise, I mean, you know, whatever.
That preacher, the actor who plays that preacher, is the writer of the movie.
Oh God, of course he is.
He's the one who it said he was the associate producer on The Blob in 1958. So take that for what you will. But then after Thief in the Night, he worked on a movie in 67 called The Hostage, a movie called Fever Heat in 1968. And then he does A Thief in the Night. This is when he finds his calling doing evangelical film. And the rest of his Wikipedia, not a hyperlink to be found until you get to the Prodigal Planet, which is the final part of this 4-part franchise.
Oh goodness.
So he definitely lost some career momentum when he decided to move towards these movies.
Diallo, what point of your life did you actually see this movie first?
So I would have seen it, probably like late 70s, I think. So before the 80s started. So it's probably like, 77, 78, 79, maybe 76, like right around there. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I know that A Distant Thunder came out late 70s, so I would have seen it, within like probably about 79 or so.
The years were, this was 72, Distant Thunder was 78, Image of the Beast was 81, and then Prodigal Planet was 83.
Yeah. It's actually interesting you say that he was the producer, because like as the movies continue, they show more of that horror element, especially the end of A Distant Thunder, but then the beginning of the third movie, I can't remember the name of it. It's very
Image of the Beast. Image of the Beast.
It's very like sci-fi, like crazy stuff going on. And I had the fourth one queued up, and I just got distracted and didn't watch it. But I was reading the description, and there's like zombies walking around or something, like post-apocalyptic. That's what it said in the description. So it definitely it follows a horror path.
Yeah. So another thing I just read here. So it does say, this is really interesting. He appeared in all 4 films as the Reverend Matthew Turner, a survivalist who has an elaborate chart of the end days events, but doesn't believe in the Bible until the rapture. It says, with his long and graying hair, usually worn in a ponytail and a shaggy beard, he didn't look the part of a stereotypical Christian fundamentalist, a fact that is credit with him earning a few secular fans, as they admired his use of unusual camera angles and overlaying different audio clips. Which, like, yes, I will applaud that those are 2 things that he is. A writer, he is not. An actor, he is not. But coming up with cool camera shots on a low budget and, like, doing that different types of audio at the same time to unnerve you, he kind of knocked that out of the park as a filmmaker.
Yeah, I did have a level, I was watching it, and I did have a level of like respect for like the thought that came into making it. I disagree with like a lot of it, but just the way the story like ends where it begins and stuff. I was like, oh, that's, it's a little clever,
and that's the thing. Like, I know that it's early in our show as far as watching movies. Up until this point, we've watched Extreme Days and the Buttercream Gang, neither which I think are as infamous as this one. But I will say, and there was the one that we watched with Woody, the Blade and the Cross,
the Cross and the Switchblade. Yeah,
the Cross and the Switchblade. I remember that book was like a big one. They always wanted us to read.
But this falls a little bit more in the category of the
Cross and the Switchblade.
The Cross and the Switchblade. And not just because it's 70s, but like when you're watching Buttercream Gang or even Extreme Days, what I feel like you're watching is someone who is evangelical, who has made the decision to make a movie in order to spread the word, but being a filmmaker is like the second or third or fifth most important thing to them. Whereas with the Cross and the Switchblade in this, you can at least see that like this was someone who already had a passion for film and then was like, how do I apply this to wanting to do? And it's like, it's a subtle difference, but it makes all the difference in the quality of the watch, at least, where you're not just like, I mean, the Buttercream Gang is, I would happily have people over to watch that as a group because it's so just, they don't know what they're doing filmmaking wise any step of the way. But this, it's like, no, this guy actually, like, there are parts of this where it is a competent and even, dare I say, good filmmaking. It's just tied up in such a garbage package the whole time. But I would watch a million of these and have more fun than watching like a Buttercream Gang, where it's like, this is just a perfectly tame G-rated thing with no real skill being shown anywhere across the entire watch.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
There were a bunch of shots where I was impressed, where she was like running across a bridge, or running through town, and I started thinking, I was like, wow, did they? I thought that actually was like, did this happen at Universal Studios? Like the way that they had like everything was cleared out, and I was like, oh, they had to actually do a lot to actually make this happen. So I was like, I was impressed with that level of competency, you know.
I think the second best scene besides the opening shot, and I will say that this fits in with almost any horror movie I've ever watched, is the establishing shot of the carnival, where it's these like extreme POV shots of like being on the roller coasters and the different rides, but you have like the combination of like the people screaming on the rides, but there's also this overlay as if there's like a fun house somewhere with a cackle. Like it's a very unnerving and intense, like it's effective in what it's trying to do, but it's great because from a stylistic editing, I'm giving way more compliments than this movie probably deserves.
I was wondering.
But like this movie jumps all over in time, right? So it starts with the rapture, then we get this band performing, which feels like it's just kind of like agnostic to the rest of the overall story. But when we go to the carnival scene, I think very intentionally at first it's shot where you don't see anybody on the rides, so that you're not really sure is this pre or post rapture until you see characters talking and discussing things, and that's like when you realize like, oh, we've gone back in time. Like this is before that opening scene. Now we're seeing like what happened to lead up to that. A thing that could have also been achieved by just, I don't know, something coming up on the screen that said like 4 months earlier, but but
nice.
No, why make it easy? Let's complicate.
I was very confused, and then I also got a little confused about the main girls. I was like, wait, which one is the main girl that we opened with? And I was like, is she?
Because they all have a general 70s
blonde girl
unpaid
look.
Actress look.
Yes.
Yes. It's a common issue that happens when you watch 70s and early 80s slasher movies, is at a certain point,
I was just about to say,
every
Texas Chainsaw
character
Massacre
just bleeds together. Yeah, you're like, I don't know who these people are. Yeah, I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with all my heart. I can never tell the two girls apart until one of them is died, and then I'm like, okay, that one's Sally. Got it. Yeah, it was the style at the time. But yeah, that carnival scene is really cool. Even like there's a scene where she kills a bug in her kitchen, and like the way that they framed it, where it's like this extreme close up of this bug on the window, and then like the thwap of something hitting it like startles you. Like there's a lot of really intense. I feel like I didn't live through this, but I did finally watch it maybe a year or two ago. It feels very comparative to like the same tactics that were used a decade later with like The Day After, where it's just so horrific and unnerving. And, you know, with The Day After, all the time in the 80s, you're hearing the news of like, oh, we could go to nuclear war any fucking day now. So you're like watching this thing. The entire time that I have been alive, someone has been telling me that the rapture is any day now. So it's like you're watching this and you're like, it could be tomorrow. I could wake up tomorrow and half the people I love are just raptured and gone, and I'm stuck in the wasteland.
I think I'm going to add something that might be even more points for my cringe, but there was a point where a roommate and I decided that we would pull a prank on another roommate and pretend that we were raptured, and we put our clothes out on the couch like we were just hanging out. And then our roommate came home and was just like, oh man, they didn't do their laundry.
My friend made a movie called Delco the Movie, and that the opening scene is people playing a prank on a kid, making him believe that they were raptured.
Oh.
Man.
So cringe.
So you can sue him. You can be like, I did that first.
I did it. I don't know.
You don't want to claim that one? You don't want to copyright that one as a Katie Hampton original?
No, that is not an original thought. That is not but like, I agree. Like, this was one of those things that growing up, like everybody was kind of like into the whole, like, it can happen any day. Like, what's going to happen? Like, are you a true believer? And my God, even the scene when they're, in with like the group and like they're telling the Jenny character to like pray for God to be in her heart and all this stuff, I was like, this is terrifying, because the line that really scared the hell out of me was the real meaning of love. Like, this woman is like talking about Jesus and like bringing you into your heart or whatever, and it's like, then you'll know the real meaning of what love is, while having all these horrific imagery and like this doom and gloom of like, if you don't do it, you're gonna die and it's gonna be awful, it's gonna be worse than death and the spirit will leave. Holy cow. Like I know I got like pieces of that from different sects of religion and from different experiences, but like to put it all into this one horrific movie, I can only imagine what these resulting movies turn into.
Yeah. I'm excited. We're definitely going to watch the other 4, Katie. I hope you're prepared.
I'm not. But go ahead. Sorry, what was that, Diallo?
It's actually... Yeah, no, it's actually interesting when you watch, like, you know, this one and you watch the other ones. One of the things that got really clear to me was how, like I said, there's so many concepts that I think they're kind of like below the surface, but they also inform a lot of what happens with certain politicians in power. Like, they don't talk about this stuff, but they believe in this stuff. And I actually tried to like make this clear to a friend a few years ago, and she wasn't aware of any of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, the whole thing about this country is this, and this will kick off this, and this will kick off this, and that's why they want to do that. And she was just like, whatever. And then some of the stuff started to happen, and then she was like, oh, you're right. And I was like, yeah, they don't talk about it, but this is what they actually think, right? And so when you're watching this movie, you actually see a lot of the things that they talk about in this movie. There's like, and I think in the next one, it's like, you know, barcodes or the mark of the beast, and there's the like they're afraid of, like, in this one there's like the fear of like the United Nations and globalists and all of these things kind of came about, you know, the fear of the state, you know, all of these things that people sort of like inherently have fear now, I think can be sourced back to a bunch of people watching this and kind of like, you know, buying in. So, and it's interesting too, because this movie came out in early 70s, but like, you know, when Reagan comes into office by that time, like he's able to implement a lot of these things and these fears, and you know, it was really fascinating for me to watch this again, because it was like a reminder of some stuff that I knew, but then at the same time, I wasn't aware how directly it kind of like planted some seeds for, like, you know, a lot of the beliefs that some
theology.
people have today. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about, you mentioned the United Nations, and we got to talk about the gymnastics that went into making sure that they could get the acronym UNITE, which is the United Nations Imperium of Total Emergency.
Which is rough. Again, the writing on this is woofed.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was, someone had it in their brain that the villains were going to be called UNITE, and they were going to get there no matter how. They were going to figure it out.
And I love that we're introduced of like this whole, like, you'll notice the mark of the beast on the foreheads of the people or whatever. And I love that we're introduced to that concept through like this pimply teen preacher, and then also through an older man who's like, I don't mind getting that on my forehead. No one would do, like, just to like say that you're a citizen. Like, what? What is this?
Good morning, Crust. It's a great day to be a bread brother.
Ugh, mornings are not my jam. Or jelly.
Oh, come on. Stop loafing around.
I just woke up feeling hollow inside.
Psst, just grab one of the new Morning Uncrustables sandwiches, like Bright Eyed Berry or Up an Apple, filled with 12 grams of protein and tons of deliciousness. Crust, what are you eating?
It's just granola, not even yogurt.
No crust, no fuss. Uncrust your mornings.
Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's Superhero Stuff You Should Know, or Superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you like to laugh? geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass to Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come.
It's amazing. It's like it like I remember just casually through life as a 10, 11, 12, like one of my friends in that circle, like talking about like, but it's in the barcodes, and kind of like realizing watching these movies that's where that idea came from. It was, you know what I mean? Like, especially back then, there wasn't like internet and social media it just like these ideas came through, and then they kind of spread in, the old school way of having these things spread by people talking, but that's where that idea came from. And
yeah, I don't remember where it came from for me, but I remember hearing it must have been inspired by people who had watched this and then were teaching youth group. But it was always like, oh yeah, the mark of the beast. It's going to be like a barcode on your wrist, and you'll never have to carry cash or a credit card again. Like they'll just scan your wrist to pay for things and blah, 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 blah. Which like is always weird because then there's like ideas like that do actually get proposed.
Yeah. Right. Or like a chip
like
that you have in your hand or something like that to check in. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that a lot of the imagery was so very basic and kind of odd in that regard, because I'm like, wearing the mark of the beast on your brow, I feel like is just a MAGA hat right now. And I'm like, how are you not seeing that part?
I mean, that's the whole other piece to like a lot of my observations about, and that's why the conversation even came up about this movie. Actually, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but
please. You're the guest. Yes. You are always the one that gets to interrupt.
Yes.
A lot of my a lot of this conversation about this movie came up because of like my observation that a lot of these things that I was taught to look out for, the very people that were teaching me are now seemingly the ones that are like pushing the stuff forward, and it's like they can't see it, right? And that's the part that's been fascinating to me. When a certain there was a president that when they were campaigning, and there was a quote unquote attempt on their life. Immediately, like without me even thinking about it, my brain went back to this whole idea of like the beast getting shot in the head, and he was like bleeding, and he appears to die, but he doesn't, and he's like this charismatic leader, which they say this in the second movie, which is it's insane, and I'm just like, you people don't get it, like you don't get it, and it's crazy to me, and it's just like if I was writing a story, I would actually write it this way, where it's like there's a prophecy that's about doom and gloom, and the righteous people are the ones that actually become susceptible to making the prophecy come to pass.
True.
Because like that's interesting to me, but like it's also that's kind of how I see it happening. Not that I believe in any of this really, but it's just so fascinating to me how you like your whole identity is built on this idea, except when it's right in front of your face, you like, I don't know why you can't see it. And it's incredible.
I mean,
no, I've thought for a really long time. Now, I think it is insane, even as someone who still goes to church regularly, it is insane how much weight we put on a book that is admittedly just a dream that one of the followers of Jesus had a couple years after Jesus. Like,
and
how
like
that
a fever dream too.
Yeah, like how that became like, oh, this is an absolute picture perfect prediction of some time in the future is psychotic to me. But
like, even think about that just in terms of like as creatives, as we're all creatives, and like the symbolism of this kind of thing of like someone being so charismatic that they basically intoxicate an entire group of people to come to these really end times type of behaviors and, you know, trying to ruin things or trying to make sure that citizens are actually citizens. It's wild to me that you have all this imagery and all of this stuff kind of warning us in either the Bible, either, you know, a movie or something like that. And then how dystopianly accurate some of it can be, but in the wrong direction than I think a lot of people are kind of preaching this to be.
Well, because I think that even as far back as when biblical times were, there was always some evil, charismatic person who would convince people to do
the wrong
bad
thing.
shit.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, Christians repeatedly have been the most susceptible to that charisma.
I mean, it makes sense in that you're willing to buy into like a certain belief structure. So it's like there's something about you that it's maybe the way you see the world. I don't know what it is, but
I think part of it, like, honestly, is that you need to be right. Like, and I that's like so to go back to that Delco the movie thing that my friend made, which is weird. We'll have him on here at some point, but there's one scene in the movie that I helped him co-write because when we did the script reading, I was like, this scene is bad and you need to fix it. and it was just like the main character is an overly evangelical character and he's a pain to watch and it is like not fun. It is not a fun experience watching him. And he was like, his mom had died on the mission field and that was supposed to be the reason why he was the way that he is, and that's how it's written off. It's like, oh, my mom was a missionary. And I'm like, no, you need to go deeper than that. And like what the actual speech ended up being was like, this stuff needs to be real because then otherwise my mom just died for no reason. And it's like, I think that is at its core why so many Christians are so susceptible to any person in leader identifying as a Christian who's going to save them, is that this needs to be real. Otherwise, I've dedicated so much of my life and time to something that's not real.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. The pursuit of not feeling stupid leads them to do even more stupid decisions, basically.
Yeah, and it's all driven by fear, which this movie accomplishes really well.
Yeah, I mean, like they said, this was a game changer in that sense, because I'm sure that if you look at any 60s Christian content, it's just like, it's like Ned Flanders. It's like that wholesome, just like, look at how happier these people are because they're Christians. You should be a Christian too. Donate some money. And like this was like, yo, if you don't become a Christian, oh boy, is life gonna suck for you when the rapture happens.
And my favorite thing was I wrote the line, wow, downtown Des Moines really does look raptured.
That's the part I was impressed with. I was like, wow, like, did they clear out everybody just to get the shot? Or
yeah, right?
You know how like they talk, like you might have seen some memes or people talk about it, and you might have experienced this too. I'm a little older than you guys, but like me growing up, like I had like it watching media. There was always like, am I going to fall into a pit of like quicksand, or a giant boulder's going to be falling down? Like there was all these like tropes in TV that we were always exposed to. I would add one of them for me, again, reminding watching especially the second movie. There's like I was so preoccupied with the idea of guillotines because it features heavily in the next movie, and I was so like, is this gonna happen to me? Like trying to figure out what happens when you get beheaded. Some of that was learning about the French Revolution also, but it just sort of like, that was the movie that really it terrified me. I was so terrified, and I can actually like, when I watched it, I could actually sort of like understand a lot of the fears that people have today. That like, you don't even have to like subscribe to like, you know, fundamental Christianity. But I can understand like some of the fears that people have, like you know, with like COVID lockdowns. It's like that was like for a lot of people that was like a manifestation of everything that they've been fearing for their entire lives. And so they go down this path of thinking, oh yeah, it had all the hallmarks. The government's telling me what to do. Like it's everything that these movies, or saying, so I can kind of see it. Not that I agree with it, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. And watching these gave me this really weird feeling because it was bringing back a lot of fears that I had. Yeah, it's just it's such a fascinating thing. But I like the thing that I keep going back to is I just like it really is sort of like the thing that planted all the seeds that ended up having people sort of like they grew into a tree later where they pull from and don't realize that it was all just like from this movie, again, the fear of the government, the fear of the state, like it just
the fear of the United Nations.
Well, especially because like if even half of those stats are led to be believed, right, that this movie converted 4 million people to Christianity out of fear, even if this current generation, like Katie and I are just young enough that we missed this. You know what I mean? Like
I think
by
we
the mid to
felt
late 90s, it was something else.
I think we felt the effects of this influence.
Well, I was going to say, I think that I am willing to bet that right now there is some Christian company that we don't know, whether it's book publishing or filmmaking, that is already trying to make another rapture scare tactic film, because if this was as effective as it was supposed to be, they have gone back to that well, and it was successful with Left Behind during the 90s. So it's like we are so unbelievably close, I'm willing to bet, to another big mainstream moment in Christianity where there is another huge rapture film or book series push that, similar to how like Passion of the Christ was huge because a bunch of churches were like busing people to the theaters to see it. There'll be this huge movie that people are busing their churches to watch this rapture movie that's going to wake America up to what's really going on or whatever.
They don't want woke America.
Yeah, sorry. It's going to put America back to sleep about what's really going on.
Yeah. The other part of this movie, like that sort of section, that I guess the first 20 minutes or so of just like them talking about prayer and, driving home like what you should really believe. That's been another thing that's always fascinated me about this conversation about like, if I went to college, and so there's a perception of some people that I might have been programmed or, indoctrinated into like, some like leftist beliefs. And it's like, no, like, I don't think that you, like, it's so funny when people say that, because it's like, you're the one that goes to a place every Sunday to have someone tell you what to think. Like, so, it's like, what happened when I went to school was like, I just got a whole bunch of different information and then they just like send you out. Like, you have to kind of like, and I started to see, wait, this doesn't add up, that doesn't add up. Like, story-wise, when I'm looking at getting the mark of the beast, I'm like, what is it? Like, okay, so I get a thing on my forehead. Why do I go to hell for that? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense story-wise. Plot
and
logic
also,
or story, like word logic.
The plot logic on this movie is wild too, because it's just like, I love that when it's Jenny, I think, the character that actually like fully accepts Jesus into her heart, and then we like never see her again. But I love the like conversation she has with the pimply teen preacher, who he's like, Satan's gonna, be challenging you, and he's gonna say that you're not a real Christian, and you're gonna be like thinking that you're wrong or whatever, and all of this stuff. And I was like, oh, well, then like how? And he's like, but Jesus will protect you. Jesus, it is just like, just keep talking to him, just keep praying to him, and keep having a conversation. And I was like, oh God, but if only it was a therapist that you were recommending instead of the voice in your head to help perpetuate this. I was like, oh God, you're so close and so far on all of this.
But
it doesn't quite add up.
Yeah, and it's like kind of vibes based, but it's set up in a way that actually like I can see how it perpetuates itself. Like I've always, I've talked about this with some people about Christianity. I was like, the difference between Christianity and other religions is that your mission is to go out and convert people, whereas a lot of other religions is sort of like just like a state of being. It's like primarily for Christians, it's like we have to go out into the world and colonize, basically, colonize our beliefs. And so I can see, and then with all the fears and stuff that they put into that, it's like the devil's always trying to do this, do that to you, and so it makes you continue to go to whatever source they say it is, like the church. Some places might be the Pope, but it's just sort of like you have to keep returning to this place to get your compass realigned, and so you stay within that religion. And then it's also like, if I can be more good, then I'm going to be okay. So I don't have to suffer this fate that is going to be the worst fate that they're telling, whether it's being left behind or hell or whatever it is. So in that way, I think it's brilliant how the religion exists, but I also think it's insidious,
Yeah,
I mean, it operates in that same kind of like freemium phone app kind of way, or like it's like you get incentives enough that makes you want to just keep playing.
Right.
So you mentioned about how like things just keep coming back time and time again, and I think that brings us to the ending of the movie, where
oh my god,
it's revealed to be all a dream, but then is it? Because we find out that opening scene really did happen, and that Patty has in fact been left behind. And then there's the sequels, which we haven't watched yet, but I do have to ask, Diallo, you're in the film world. You write, and I think you also direct.
I don't
is
direct.
This the best?
Never would do that.
Okay, so you write. Of the 4 films, you watched 3 of the 4 just to prepare for this. Is this definitely the best one, or did they get more competently assembled over time?
It's actually interesting. I think, again, the second was the one that really kind of really gets me. Yeah. And just in any genre of any film, like sometimes like when you have the first low budget film, like, and you get more budget, you're able to actually do things a little bit better in the second one, And so like I think the second and the third ones are like more competent in how they execute things, but it's also just, I mean, they're all bad, But actually, I would be really interested to hear when you watch the second one, because I actually, again, it's another way that I actually think it's clever how they continue the story. So there's like elements of that where it's like, oh, okay, that's actually like in a way that's like actually kind of clever, but I hate all of it at the same time. So
fair. The thing that made me the most mad, I think, about this movie in particular was when it shows the title card, "The End," and then it says, ... is near, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, what the hell, you guys?
Listen, that's comedic gold.
I
don't know
really
what you complain about. Well, Diallo, thank you for introducing us to your childhood trauma through A Thief in the Night. If people enjoy listening to your voice on a podcast, is there other podcasts that they can go and listen to your voice more regularly?
Yes, you can check me out on Podcasting After Dark Presents TV Obscura, where I appear about once a month and we talk about old TV and cartoons, and 80s Kids Unite. And also you can find me on some episodes of, every episode of Galactica, actually. And that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Katie, we'll be back next week. I'm sure something else will cringe us out. So stay tuned for whatever that might be.
Remember when James Cameron nearly directed a Spider-Man movie?
What about when we almost got Batman Year One with Joaquin Phoenix?
Or David Goyer's Flash movie that would have starred Ryan Reynolds?
Well, if you want to learn about all the unmade superhero movies, then check out Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Hosted by Ben Wan and Alex Ramsey, every month we cover nostalgic superhero movies with deep dives into unmade scripts, early drafts, deleted scenes, alternate cuts, concept art, novelizations, and tie-in novels.
We also interview the people involved in making the superhero films of our childhood, with our past guests including superhero actors, directors, screenwriters, and concept artists.
So remember, that's superhero stuff you should know, or superhero SYSK on social media. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.